What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's been a long month, almost a month. I think like 3.5 weeks. Hope you guys had a very good Christmas, a good holiday, a good New Year. We're back. It's good to be back. The hardest working people in the content industry, which is MMA providers, for sure. Every other sport has a season. Yeah, football that has a season, baseball has a season, but we literally have a 3-week break practically, and the rest of it is just all gung-ho all year. So we definitely are the hardest working people in the content industry. So whoever you follow, whether it's me, whether it's another person, appreciate what they do because it's a constant grind all year long. But it's odd because usually at the end of a long season, it's almost like at the end of a workday, right? You want to have that break. I wanted that break for about 3 days. And then after that, I was chomping at the bit to get back. It almost makes you a workaholic in this space, which I kind of am. Before we jump into this and jump into some of the new additions that we have to the site and to our memberships, I do want to give a shout out to the people in California that are dealing with these fires right now. I do live in California. Fortunately for myself, I am not near there. More south, I think it is. I don't know my geography here just yet, but I'm more south, so I'm not affected by it. But I see it all over the news. People are affected by it. The people in the Palisades. A lot of people don't have homeowners insurance. They were dropped. Hopefully they can figure it out. Hopefully we can help them out. But terrible what's going on right now. It's something that you would see in a movie. So my heart, my prayers, everything goes out to anybody who's listening to this who is affected by that, or family members or what have you. It's been a strange 2025 so far. A lot of stuff has been happening. So hopefully it swings around for the better, because there's been a lot of bad stuff happening in the last couple weeks, I would say, because we've only been in 2025 for a couple weeks. Better news and good things. So we at the MadLabMMA.com during the break, we really did not have a break. We continue to thrive. We continue to push the envelope, and we continue to try to be the gold standard in this space. One of the things that we did thrive on, and one of the things that we did hold near and dear to our heart, is the amount of content we've given you. For over a decade, I've given you guys very detailed content, 15 to 20,000 word articles every week. Ultimately wanted to build a community of really good people. Not so much the massive people. I just wanted really, really good people. And we have achieved that over the past couple years. We are pushing the envelope more now. So basically what we have is we still have our great community that we're continuously trying to build with good people. So we hope that you guys will come and check us out. But we're also adding a couple new additions to the site, which is just by far making us the most beefiest content provider out there. We now have something called the Fight Brain. And basically what the Fight Brain is it's a culmination of metrics, stats, historical outcomes for certain matchups and stuff like that. And basically what it does is it breaks it all down fight per fight, and it actually gives you its scenario of how the probable outcomes will be. So they'll give you about they'll break the whole fight down from striking to grappling, to cage IQ, to cardio, to durability, conditioning. They match the fighters up, and then basically what it does, it gives you a couple different probabilities, and then it gives you the main outcome, the most likely outcome that the Fight Brain thinks that would be the most likely outcome. That is not my prediction. So if the guys that are members that go onto the site, that's the Fight Brain's prediction. Okay, that's based on historical matchups, percentages, probabilities, and stuff like that. My predictions will be on a separate entity on the site, a separate link on the site. So you're getting two. Actually, it's like Mad Lab versus the Fight Brain. There's going to be fights that we agree upon. There's going to be fights that we don't agree upon. I know for this breakdown, the Fight Brain is pretty much done. It's posted to the page. It's about 20 pages long. Document pages long. You can either read through the whole thing or you could skim through what you want. It's categorized very nicely, but it is about 20 full pages long, and I believe each card is going to be that lengthy. Some a little bit less, some a little bit more. As time goes on, I'm going to add and pull some things that I feel like need to be there, that don't need to be there. That is up right now. The Fight Brain is up right now. My breakdowns will be up shortly. But you will notice that there will be a differential sometimes between the Fight Brain and myself. Fight Brain might pick one way, I might pick another way. Fight Brain might pick the same fighter that I pick, but we might have a different outcome as far as how the fight ends. So it's a really, really, really amazing tool. And between my input, the Fight Brain's input, you could decipher for yourself which way you like. Maybe you disagree with both of us. Another thing that we started something called the roster bully tool. We did it for football, and it was kind of a lineup builder, not something where you can actually upload into DraftKings or upload into FanDuel. It was pretty much a filterable tool that you can look for. Okay, well, if you're on the running backs, you see who touchdowns, and it will filter who has more touchdowns, who's probable to score more touchdowns, who's probable to throw for more passing yards. Everything was filterable. We had it for MMA too last year, but it was very, very, not cookie cutter, but it was very black and white because it was kind of the launch of it. We've extended that majorly now. We have so many different categories. Everything's color charted from red to amber to green. It's still all filterable, all different categories now. The amount of metrics, the amount of tools, and the amount of content that you're getting this year is double compared to last year. And I'm not even lying about that. And the reason why I did this was because I wanted to open up a little bit more space for myself to do more things, to do more podcasts, to do more videos like this. I want to start doing about 2 videos a week. To do a little bit more breaking news, to be a little bit more engaged instead of being behind the computer and typing 15,000 words, which takes up majority of my week between ripping film, between, taking notes, between, proofreading and doing this. So I tried to do that. So I failed in a way. I failed in a way because now it's double the content. It's still the same amount of work. But at least now I'm looking at it, I was like, all right, there's no stone left unturned now. Like there's zero, all this work when I was saying to myself, I need to open up more time for myself because I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to add this, but I just don't have the time. Now it's about the same amount of time that I was putting in, but now I have everything covered. Honestly, guys, I'm not saying this because it's my product. This is really all you need. If you're a combat enthusiast, this is really the only tool that you need. So come check us out, themadlabmma.com. We have all different tiers of subscriptions, whether you wager, whether you play DFS. We got everything covered. Eventually what I want to do is I want to expand the Fight Brain a little bit, and I want to give the Fight Brain's best wagers for the fights. That's going to come later. I don't want to throw too many things at people. So it'll be me versus the Fight Brain on a wagering aspect too. But everything else, nothing was really pulled. There's a lot more audio breakdowns, fight per fight, for people who do like the audio. The Fight Brain, I think you guys are going to just have a blast with that. And as far as the roster bully tool, I think you guys are going to have a blast with that too. That's all filterable. If you're looking for KOs, if you're looking for finishes, submissions, how many times they were subbed, how many times they were knocked out, their fight time, and you could just filter it all. And it'll give them tiers from top to bottom, all different ways. So put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this over the holidays and beyond. This is something I've been working on for about 3-4 months. And obviously during the holidays, I went home to New York to see my family, and I kind of buried myself and immersed myself in this. And that was my goal, to immerse myself into something that I can immerse you in. So you were completely immersed now in this in this content, and I hope you guys will definitely come to check it out. We have the Fight Night. We have Dern versus Ribas. This is a rematch. I'm going to break down the main card. If you guys want to see the entire card, what I have to say, what the Fight Brain has to say, you guys know. Go to themadlabmma.com. We also have a great Discord that you definitely don't want to miss. We're still going to be giving away to the members all of the playoffs for NFL, all of our picks for NFL, all of our DFS for NFL, all of our wagers for NFL until the Super Bowl. So if you sign up now, you will get access to all that. You have VIP access to the entire site. This is a rematch, Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. When you look at this fight, the way they matched up the first time is honestly, I don't see that much of a different matchup here. You're looking at Amanda Ribas, who is, a black belt in judo. She's got a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She's a decent striker. She can get lost in translation a little bit with her striking. And you got Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, we know her. We know what she is. She's a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, very elite grappling, very decorated. But sometimes the decorations in grappling don't translate as much as they do anymore inside the cage. People are becoming very privy to the Brazilian jiu-jitsu game. And there's a difference between gi grappling and tournament grappling and then coming in MMA when people are throwing elbows and punches and kicks and what have you. So as much as I respect Mackenzie Dern's grappling game, I have seen a little bit of an evolution in her striking. And she's also proved to me how durable she is. She's extremely durable. Very, very tough. Not just a pretty face like people look at her and, oh, it's Mackenzie Dern. It's very tough. She will take a beating and she will keep on coming. The crazy thing about Mackenzie Dern is she got into her best shape after she had a kid. If you remember when she first came in, she debuted. She was kind of heavy set. She looked like she didn't care anymore. Didn't look like she was in the greatest shape. Really just relied on her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That was it. Then she went over to Perillo for a little while. He kind of refocused her, and he kind of put her on the gloves, and he made her learn striking a little bit and gain a little bit more confidence in her striking. The thing with Mackenzie Dern is the one hole in her game that she's had in the Amanda Ribas first fight to this fight, still to this day, her wrestling. You can have the greatest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the world, but if you can't get to fight to the ground, what good is it? I mean, you could pull guard, you can jump for things, yes. But that's very, very high volatility. That's, high risk, for a high reward. Michelle Waterson used to do stuff like that. She used to do like these head and arm throws that if she got it, it was great. But it was also very, very high risk because she can get turned and that's what happened in the first fight. If you remember, if you watch that first fight with Ribas and Mackenzie Dern, was getting in on the entry. She had a couple very good, clean entries. But the judo and the know-how of Ribas was able to kind of hip toss her and put her on her back. Now, I'm not saying that Ribas is a better grappler than her because she's not. But she's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and she's extremely serviceable there. So she knows what's coming, when it's coming, how it's coming. She was put in a couple rough spots in that thing. There was a couple times where Dern looked like she was going to throw up a triangle, and at the end of the round, a couple times it looked like she could have put her into some positions. But at the end of the day, that's just not going to cut it. You need to work on your wrestling. You need to understand how to get the fight to the ground on multiple situations instead of just hoping the fight ends up on the ground. That's the biggest thing with Mackenzie Dern. I don't see this fight going that much differently. I think that it could be a little bit more competitive on the feet this time because Mackenzie Dern's striking did get better. I do think Mackenzie Dern's more durable. I think that she hits with a little bit more pop. I don't think Ribas really graduated that much from their first fight. I think she's probably the same version of herself. Maybe she's got a couple new tricks up her sleeve. I just don't see this fight going any different, though. I think that Mackenzie Dern still has that wrestling hole in her game, and every time I fall in the trap with her, I'm like, all right, Mackenzie Dern, she's got to work on her wrestling this time. Like, she had to see that in the last fight, that her wrestling just didn't work. And then she makes me look stupid. So the thing with Mackenzie Dern is if she does get the fight to the ground and she can get top position, Ribas will be in trouble. We didn't get to see that in the first fight because every time she did get an entry, anytime she did try to take the fight to the ground, Ribas was able to reverse position on the way down and be the one landing on top. Ribas is not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner where she's going to be throwing up arm bars and triangles. Not against Mackenzie Dern. It's just not going to happen. If Mackenzie Dern gets on top of her, there's going to be trouble. I'm not saying that this is a fight where I'm sold on, but gun to head, I would say Amanda Ribas wins this fight again by decision. Next one, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. Interesting fight, right? You got a really interesting fight here. And the thing that makes this fight interesting is two factors. You have Santiago Ponzinibbio, who at one time when he was on his run, like he looked like the guy. And now he's a little bit older, and now he is wearing it a little bit, right? Doing a lot of commentating. You wonder how active he is. He's long in the tooth. And he's fighting a guy in Carlston Harris who a little bit younger. He's getting a little long in the tooth too, but he is very unorthodox. The guy throws punches from these crazy angles. He's got a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. So he's well-rounded, but he's odd. He's like a goofy foot well-rounded. And you got to wonder with Ponzinibbio, is the age really going to catch up in him in this fight? Like, you're going to see, where is he? Where is Ponz in this fight? Is the decline really going to hit a steep hill right now, or does he still have enough to beat a guy like Carlston Harris? Because let's face it, Ponzinibbio in his prime walks Carlston Harris. He literally dog walks him. But we don't know if we're getting that version of him. However, he's got very, very good takedown defense. And this is what I'm factoring into this fight. Santiago historically has very good takedown defense. And you got Carlston Harris on the other side, who his striking, like I said, it's good. It's not bad. What makes it good is it's so unchained and unorthodox. It's not your traditional style, so sometimes you can't read it, you can't make your reads, you can't make your adjustments. But he's not a better striker. Ponzinibbio, far and away, is a better technical striker. He's a smoother striker. He hits with really, really good pop, and he's got very good takedown defense. So I think if this fight stays on the feet for 15 minutes, which I'm probably expecting it to do so for the most part, I think Ponzinibbio wins this fight. So I'm going with Santiago Ponzinibbio. I can see a decision or a possible knockout late in the fight, but I am leaning towards the Ponzinibbio side. Next one, César Almeida versus ARA. Another interesting fight. Like, this is interesting to me. Like, if you look at this fight and you're just looking at the two names, what are you saying to yourself? ARA, forget it. He's, a one-hitter quitter. He's done. And if you're looking at César Almeida, you're kind of curious about him a little bit. You know his takedown defense isn't that good. You know if he gets taken down to the ground, he gets put on his back, he is in trouble. But he is a good striker. He is smooth on the feet. He makes the right decisions. He knows how to play the range game. So you got to wonder now, okay, now you take César Almeida, and you take his deficiencies in takedown defense and grappling. And if you look at the ARA side and you look at him for what he is, what is he? We look at him like he's this knockout artist, right? He's been this volatile, lately angry guy who's just looking to take your head off. Historically, he's been that way. But recently now, with all the things that have happened to him, it's almost like he's got a chip on his shoulder and he comes out a little more volatile. A lot of people don't know that the guy does have a black belt in judo. The guy can wrestle. He has shown it recently a little bit that he will try to wrestle a little bit. The problem with ARA is if he does not get that and he doesn't have success doing that, he ultimately does not have a great gas tank, and that can be a problem. That can be a problem for a guy like ARA. So there's two versions of him. What version are we going to see? Are we going to see the version where he comes out with a chip on his shoulder and he says, I'm going to throw fire and fire with this guy and I'm going to try to knock him out? Or is he going to try to say, listen, this guy's weakness is his wrestling. I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to try to grapple with this guy, and I'm going to try to take him down. I'm going to try to finish him that way. So that opens up an avenue for César Almeida to kind of wonder and be curious. Like, do I play this cautious? Is he going to take me down, or is he going to try to sling with me? If he tries to sling with me, I don't got to worry about so much about protecting my hips. I could do what I'm comfortable with doing. But if ARA starts showing the shots and starts feinting and starts kind of showing him that, I'll go for your hips, then I think you might see a little bit more cautious César Almeida. Ultimately, I can't trust ARA. Ultimately, I don't know what I'm getting from him. I know that he has the tools to win this fight. I know that he if he wants to grapple and he wants to commit to the wrestling and try to take him down, he could win this fight. Almeida's a guy who you put him on his back, he's not going to move. But historically, he just doesn't do that. This is a guy who likes to knock you out. This is a guy who likes to throw heavy power, likes to throw heavy leather, and then down the stretch, he kind of starts fading. So I could see this fight in the first round being very interesting. Like guys that are on the César Almeida side, they're kind of sitting on the edge of their seat. They're waiting for the floor to drop out. And then as time goes on, you'll see ARA start really winging shots, being really wild, backing up, panting a little bit. And that's when Almeida can start hunting. So ultimately, like I said, I like César Almeida in this spot. I'm not really locked in. I don't bet against or for ARA anymore because I know what he's capable of. We always say sometimes the better fighter doesn't always win. ARA is a guy that can catch you with a shot and the fight's over. That's just what it is. Doesn't have to be the better fighter. Even though technically he probably is the more well-rounded fighter here, it's a fight that personally I would stay away from. I would stay away from this fight. You could live bet it if you guys are into the wagering end of it. You could live bet it. But if from a DraftKings perspective, is there value on ARA? There's always value on him. There's always value on him just because of the type of fighter he is. But then there's also that point in time where you could be really biting yourself saying, why did I trust this guy again? For me, it's César Almeida. Very cautiously, I would stay away from this fight from a wagering perspective unless you're looking at a prop that really looks juicy. You want to take a shot at it. Definitely a live betting opportunity here, though, as the fight goes on if you choose to. Chris Curtis and Roman Kopylov. This fight, to me, is interesting. I think Chris Curtis is a guy who you're not going to get a more durable guy. You're not going to get a guy who has cleaner boxing for the style that he shows. He's got good body work and stuff like that. The problem with Chris Curtis is he does not pull the trigger enough. It's not a cardio issue with him. It's not like, oh my God, he's gassed out, he can't throw anymore. Sometimes he just rests on his laurels. He doesn't go for it. He doesn't realize how close a round is. He doesn't understand that just one or two body shots or one or two shots could finish a fight or can kind of sway the round. He just kind of beats to his own drum. And there's so many times where I'm sitting there and I'm watching him, I'm going, this is his fight to win. Like, this is literally his fight to win. But he just decides not to give that little uptick in volume. He decides not to kind of push forward. There's certain fighters that can rest on their durability, right? There's certain fighters that I don't like it. I'm not saying it's a good thing to do, especially in the long run, but there's certain fighters that can kind of lean on their durability a little bit when they have to. Chris Curtis is a guy who should lean on his durability a little bit at the end of rounds when he has to. When there's a close round, I'm not saying the entire fight. I'm not saying your game plan is to go in and lean on your durability. It's a recipe for disaster. But, in certain aspects of a fight, when a round is close or you feel a round is close and I got a better chin this guy, walk forward. walk forward, let your hands go a little bit, steal that round, or try to finish that fight. Because Curtis just doesn't do that. He kind of stays in one gear the whole fight. And if a guy can keep up with that and uptick a little bit, chances are Curtis is going to lose the fight. Roman Kopylov is a guy who has that uptick. He's very dynamic. Both of these guys are southpaws. They move in. He has a lot of movement. But I've seen him tire out. Like, I've seen Roman Kopylov tire out. He comes out sometimes with like a bat out of hell. He looks good. He looks sharp the first round. You're counting your money. You're going, Roman Kopylov. Then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute. He's slowing down. And Kopylov starts slowing down. And then he starts getting a little sloppy. And then he starts getting hit a little bit more. So when things are going Roman's way and he's running downhill, he looks great. But when Roman can't get his way, that's when you see him kind of taking a back step. Now, you got to wonder, in a fight like this against Chris Curtis, where, yeah, he may have his way in certain spots, but when he sees he's not hurting Chris Curtis and he's not really affecting him, and Curtis is still walking forward and still hitting him with shots, is that going to tire him out? Like, from that, is Chris Curtis going to be able to start to back him up a little bit? I think Chris Curtis is a really good dog on this card, and I'm not a Chris Curtis fan. Chris Curtis actually blocked me on Twitter for having an educational argument with him that I was right, and I don't think he liked it, and he blocked me. But let's be honest here. I think Chris Curtis is a very live dog here. I love Roman Kopylov. I think he's extremely talented. I think he's the more dynamic fighter, faster, definitely more volume. But Chris Curtis, if he brings his durability into the cage with him and leans on it a little bit and lets his hands go a little bit more, I think down the stretch, this is a dog or pass situation. So I do like Chris Curtis here. I'm going to pick Chris Curtis by decision. Next one, C-Rod versus Bashi. Interesting fight. Listen, the UFC must hate Christian Rodriguez. I don't understand why they keep doing. This kid is always fighting prospects. I don't put it past him anymore to beat these guys. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't put it past this kid to not being able to win a fight against these guys. He's done it time and time again. He's like the Dragon Slayer. Every time you think, here we go, here's another guy, they're putting him against, this guy's going to beat him, he ends up winning. Is he going to beat them all? No. But, if you look at his percentile, he's probably like 70% beating these top guys that are supposed to be like next comings, and Christian Rodriguez is wiping the floors with him. And it's not because he's a great MMA fighter. It's because he's extremely well-rounded. He's extremely tight when it comes to his fundamentals. He's durable. He's got good cardio. He's got a good pace. He knows when to uptick. He knows when to grapple. He knows when to strike. He's a smart kid. Like, Christian Rodriguez is a smart kid. I think Austin Bashi is going to be a little bit too much for him. I do. I've seen this kid on tape. The 13-0 thing scares me. But I think when you look at this fight and you look at the way these guys fight, the one thing I got to say about Christian Rodriguez is he's not as fast as I want him to be. He's not as sharp and elusive as I want him to be, where Austin Bashi is going to have that step on him. And if you watch this fight and you watch him on film and then you watch Christian Rodriguez on film, Christian Rodriguez does a lot of things correct. When he gets you to the ground, he's got good transitions. He's got good top control. He's got good pressure. His striking is fundamentally good. But then if you go over and you watch like Austin Bashi stuff, it's just he seems a little bit more dynamic. He seems a little bit more sharper. And I'm afraid he's going to beat Rodriguez to the spots. Slightly. It's a fight where I would not doubt in any way, shape, or form. I don't doubt Christian Rodriguez anymore. But I do got to lean Austin Bashi. I'll go Austin Bashi by decision, just for the mere fact that Rodriguez is so damn tough and so damn durable. All right, the last fight we're going to break down, we're going to go Soriano versus Uroš Medić. Another good fight. This can be a really good fight if we got the Soriano that we all want to see. We know what Medić is. We know Medić is a seamless striker. Very good technical skills, dynamic at times, good power, makes a lot of right decisions, very minimal wrong decisions on the feet, ties his punches together very well, uses range very well. He's just a very good striker. He's a very dynamic, good, solid, fundamentally sound striker. He reminds me of Slavoklos a little bit if you really think about it. When you think about his striking, you think about how he mixes things up. Like, he's just very, very good. Soriano, on the other hand, this is a guy who is not a bad striker. He's a powerful striker, but he's also got a very good wrestling game, that he just doesn't use enough. And from fight to fight, you don't know what style he's bringing into the cage. And that's could be a blessing, but it also could be a curse. Because if you're bringing the wrong style into the cage against a guy who is a striker, let's say he wants to be a striker Saturday night, and he does that against a guy like Medić, he's going to lose that battle. He's not going to beat Uroš Medić in a striking bout unless he catches him. If he catches him, that's a different story. He does have that kind of power. But, you know, historically, percentage-wise, if you really think about it, do you really think Soriano's for 15 minutes is going to outwork Medić on the feet? No. So what does he have to do? He should come in with the approach of, I'm going to be wrestling heavy. I'm going to lose my body weight. I'm going to pin him against a cage. I'm going to build up that lactic acid in his arm so he can't really pick him up and throw with as much velocity as he wants to. I'm going to tire this guy out. He just doesn't, you never know what you're going to get from him. You know, that's the only thing. And he's a tough kid. I like Soriano. He's got a good chin. He's got, you know, decent striking, power in his hands. He's got a good wrestling game that I wish he would use a lot more. He could actually come out to be the more well-rounded fighter if he put it all together. I can't trust him. You know, something tells me that he's probably going to take a couple shots, may have success with one or two of them. But I have a feeling ultimately this is going to kind of be a jock measuring contest on the feet. And if you're telling me this is going to be a jock measuring contest on the feet, I got to go with Medić all day. I got to go with Medić. So I'm going to go with Medić. I wouldn't be shocked if he finishes him late, but I'm going to go Medić to definitely win this fight. So if you guys want to see the rest of the prelims, we got some really, really good fights on this card. Thiago Moises, Trey Ogden, very good one. Jacob Smith and Preston Parsons. Been waiting to see Jacob Smith. You have Fatima Klein, who is the training partner for Erin Blanchfield against Dudikova. So a lot of good fights on this card. If you want to see all that, come to madlabmma.com. Also, we're going to kick off the year with Mackenzie's Pick of the Week.
We are back, and the one and only Queen of Violence, me, myself, and I, are back to give you guys the goods. Unlike many providers, my picks will be tracked on MadLab's site this year. So to kick it off, this seemed a little bit simple to me. The durability of Chris Curtis already tells you that he is most likely not going to get finished. If you take that and have the understanding that Kopylov has the ability to fade a little bit, it just really makes me love Curtis at plus 3.5 rounds at minus 125. I see a lot of value here, and I see Curtis winning as well. Lock that in and remember that I'm here to defend my crown this year, and defend my crown I shall.
Where we will now keep track of her from 2025 on of her picks. So come over to the site, check us out. We put a lot of work into it. If you have any questions, you can you go to my Twitter, which is what is it? What is my Twitter? The Madlab MMA? Yeah, Madlab MMA. You could follow me there. You can ask me a question there. I answer all my inboxes. And that's it. Let's have a great year, and I look forward to seeing you guys on here a lot more as well.